Welcome to MSChelleRx, where I'm not only a patient of MS, but I'm also a practitioner. Good morning. Welcome everybody to MSChelleRx. I wanted to welcome you to my channel. Today I'm just gonna be explaining. I was diagnosed with MS, but I was diagnosed with MS in 2001. It was an interesting time. Why? Because I didn't feel right. I said this before. I didn't feel right. My fine motor skills were becoming more and more challenging. Mobility was becoming more challenging. And so at the time, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I'm just stressed out. You know why I thought I was stressed out though? I thought I was stressed out because at the time, my then fiance and we were building a house. Both of us lived in our apartments, and we would, go out and check on the house. And he was a pharmacy assistant director at the time, and I was pharmacist at the time. Both of us are pharmacists, but he was an assistant director, and I was a pharmacist, and I was working, and he was working. So I was like, okay, maybe this is stressful. Now, mind you, both of us were new to our profession, so we had a new profession. We were building a new house. We were engaged, and we got married in a different state. We live in one state, but we were getting married in another state. And so I was thinking, I've got to be stressed out. I mean, who wouldn't be stressed out? All this stuff going on at the same time. So just going through that and dealing with that, I had really just chalked it up to this will go away later. It didn't go away later, because when we went on our honeymoon, we went to the Caribbean, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. We went to, he had planned so many things. It was a surprise, actually. Our honeymoon, not the honeymoon was a surprise, but where we went was a surprise. But we got down there, and it was hot. But this was a different hot. The hot that I was experiencing was literally exhausted. This is my new husband and I in a warm climate on our honeymoon, and I am exhausted. I cannot figure out why I'm so exhausted, why I had no energy, why every movement was an act of will. And he was like, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? It's like, I don't know what to tell you to do, because I don't know what's happening. And so we managed to get through the honeymoon. I hate to say it like that, because who goes on a honeymoon and just hopes to get through the honeymoon? Well, that actually kind of happened with us. Because I soon learned that the best way to describe the way I felt on our honeymoon was, imagine a radio. And a radio works by plugging the radio into the wall and pressing play and hearing music. Well, for me, it felt like I was a radio that was once plugged into a wall, that was unplugged from the wall, and then you press play and you get no music. That's how I felt. That's the best way I can describe it, is I had nothing coming in to help me, no energy coming in to help me. So we get home and we're like, okay, maybe it was just the heat. Maybe it was just the stress of everything at one time, and we can adjust and we can get used to this. And once everything settles down, then I'll settle down. My body will settle down. Well, we proceed with our lives. Everything is fine. But my mobility still is, my fine motor skills are still, you start noticing, why is brushing my teeth in the morning, something that used to be normal, very difficult now. Things like that are just strange. And so eventually my husband and I said, okay, we need to go to the doctor, because this can't be right. So I do. I go to a doctor. I go to a neurologist, and he says to me, he actually examines me for multiple sclerosis, and he decided upon his knowledge base that I didn't have it. And at the time, I was hoping, I'm grateful that I did not have multiple sclerosis, but I was hoping I had multiple sclerosis because it would explain why I felt the way I felt. Okay? Well, everybody in my family is rejoicing. Oh my goodness, this is great. Thank the Lord, you don't have multiple sclerosis. But what is wrong with me? Because something is still wrong. Well, then time goes on and life goes on. And I go back to the same doctor because I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better at all. And he was pretty adamant. You do not have multiple sclerosis. And so I in my Michelle way, I was like, something is wrong. Either you tell me what's wrong, or somebody else is going to tell me what's wrong, because something is wrong. And so I decided, okay, this is not the place I need to be right now. I need to figure out how to figure this out. So I began seeking another professional opinion, which is fine, to seek another opinion. So pause for a second. I ended up going to my primary care physician just for a yearly primary care visit. And my doctor noticed that I was different. And ironically, my mom would always come up. They live in a different state. My mom and dad would always come up. But my mom would always go to the doctor with me. Yes, I'm an adult, but she did. She went to the doctor with me. But for this particular visit, he had done an MRI. And I sit on the side of the bed, and he gave me the MRI report. Because mind you, I am a pharmacist. Now, mind you, I'm not a neurologist. I'm a pharmacist. But he gave me the MRI report. And his face was so downcast. Because as I read it, I knew what I was reading. And I looked up and I saw his face. And he said, I wish your mother could be here for this visit. You need your mother this visit. And I was like, oh my gosh. I knew when I read the MRI report. I knew what I was reading. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So mind you, that was shocking. And you feel like your world is spinning when you receive a diagnosis. Like I wasn't diagnosed. I just read the MRI report. And I was like, goodness gracious. So I go home, and my husband and I kind of chew on it. And so we decide, okay, we need to come up with a plan of action and go to another neurologist. Well, at the time, when we went to a neurologist, it was a pretty long process, but it was kind of, we still didn't get the results we needed. So it's amazing how things happen, because we still are in limbo. What is going on? What is going to happen to me? What are we going to do? But it's interesting how life happens and how things happen, and how God orders your steps and how God orders situations. My husband had a Christmas party for his work, and we went to the Christmas party, and I was there, and I was around the table, and one of my friend's husband, who's a doctor, was on crutches that night, and he wanted a piece of cake. So I said, I'll cut you a piece of cake. So I go to cut the cake with my right hand, But I had to, at the time, I was already used to compensating because my hand shook. I grabbed the knife with my left hand also to cut the cake. And he leaned over and he whispered in my ear, he goes, "Why are you holding your hand?" And I knew in my heart what that meant. Because mind you, I still don't have a diagnosis. All I've done is read an MRI report. All I have so far is the look, the solemn look of, "I wish your mother was here," from my primary care physician. That's all I have. But I knew in my heart when he asked me, "Why are you holding your hand?" So he in crutches says, "Michelle, let me try something." So we go over to a side table and he puts his crutches aside and he reaches in his pocket and grabs some change. And he put the change on a table and he said, "Michelle, move this money from left to right with your right hand." And I did. I moved the money effectively from left to right with my right hand. He said, "Do it with your left hand." And I did it, and money flew everywhere. I knew. I mean, I knew. And so he said, "I'm going to refer you to one of my friends who's a neurologist. He's very good. He's very thorough." He said, "I just think you need to go see another neurologist." And at the time, I'm sad, but I'm grateful because I'm getting an answer. The answer came in parts, but I'm getting an answer. And so he referred me to his colleague, and I ended up going, having another MRI, getting another neuro exam, and just continuing with my life. Well, within the week after I get off work, because mind you, I'm still working during this time. I'm still practicing pharmacy during this. So I get home from the hospital. I get home from work and I come in. At the time, there were answer machines. Who has an answer machine now? But anyway, I get home from work and I come in. The dog's there. We had a little puppy at the time. I get in and I press the answer machine. And it was a message on the answer machine. "Hello, this is Dr. fill in the blank." I didn't know this doctor, by the way. He said, "I just wanted to call and tell you that we have a hospital room reserved for you at this hospital. We will be here. We're waiting for you to come. You do, in fact, have multiple sclerosis, and we will see you later on this evening." Huh? What? I knew I had multiple sclerosis. But what I didn't know was how bad it was going to hurt. I can't explain. I can't explain. It was shocking. I mean, not shocking as in, what is going on? It wasn't that. It was, wow, I really do have this. And I'm really going to be a patient because of this. Now, mind you, I'm a practitioner. I'm a pharmacist. But now, that was the first time in my life that I realized I'm both at the same time. I'm a patient and I'm a practitioner. So, as humbling and as overwhelming as that was, that's where the journey began.